My husband's creepy manager thought I was just arm candy until he realized I was the engineer fixing his mistakes. When my husband asked me to come to the construction site meeting, I figured why not. I had time between client calls, so I grabbed my coffee and drove over. The project was this commercial building downtown that I had designed 2 years ago at my previous firm. My husband was the developer and they were having structural issues that needed sorting out. The head contractor Leonard was there to discuss the foundation problems. My husband introduced me as his wife and then got called away for an urgent phone call. The moment my husband left for his phone call, Leonard's entire demeanor changed. He stopped mid-sentence and turned his back to me completely, spreading the blueprints across the table as if I'd suddenly vanished. When I stepped closer to examine the plans, he shifted his body to block my view. "These are technical documents, sweetheart. Why don't you wait in the car?" My stomach tightened as I politely mentioned I had experience with construction blueprints. Leonard's eyes traveled from my manicured nails to my designer heels, snorting at my fitted blazer. He chuckled while marking up the plans with aggressive red pen strokes, muttering about cocktail parties. When I pointed out a potential issue with the foundation specifications, Leonard spoke slowly, like explaining to a child, using his finger to trace the blueprints in exaggerated motions. I mentioned my engineering degrees, and his face twisted into a smirk. He made air quotes around engineering degree while pulling out his phone, pretending to Google diploma mills. My jaw clenched as he suggested I probably confused Instagram influencing with actual engineering work. 2 subcontractors arrived, and Leonard's voice boomed across the site. He gestured at my designer handbag, announcing it cost more than a week's salary for his workers. The men exchanged uncomfortable glances as Leonard launched into stories about his ex-wife who pretended to work, but really just spent his money on yoga classes. He pointed at my wedding ring and whistled. "Must be nice having a husband who lets you play dress up as a professional." My face burned as he kept comparing me to every trophy wife he'd ever met. Leonard puffed out his chest and started pacing like he was giving a TED Talk. "Diversity hires. Companies forced to put unqualified people in positions they didn't earn." He grabbed my portfolio and flipped through it dismissively, holding pages up to the light as if checking for forgeries. He tossed it aside carelessly, letting papers scatter across the dirty floor. His voice echoed off concrete walls as he ranted about participation trophies and gender quotas ruining the industry. When I reached for the structural drawings, Leonard snatched them away and tore one slightly, letting the piece flutter down. I tried explaining the load-bearing wall placement, but he grabbed my pencil mid-sentence and snapped it with a sharp crack. He crumpled my calculation sheet and stomped on it before tossing it in the trash. The broken pencil pieces clattered on concrete as he kicked them aside, grinding the eraser into pink dust. My hands started shaking as he began grabbing every paper I touched, either crumpling them or holding them above his head. He even moved my coffee cup across the room, telling workers I might spill it on important documents. Leonard cornered me against the table, coffee breath mixing with stale cigarettes from his work shirt. He looked me up and down deliberately, his tongue running across his bottom lip. His hand moved to my lower back as he leaned over to grab papers, calluses rough through my silk blouse. He pulled out his phone and started typing with one hand, while the other stayed planted on my back, fingers tracing small circles. "I'm messaging our industry group chat right now. 300 contractors about to learn your name," and not in a good way. My hands trembled as he showed me the screen. Another fake engineer alert with my name. His breath was hot against my ear as he whispered I'd be lucky to design a birdhouse after this. The table edge dug into my hip as he pressed closer, trapping me between his body and the furniture. That's when the safety inspector showed up with urgent concerns about the structural integrity, and my husband returned from his phone call. Leonard immediately started panicking and said, "We need to get the engineer who designed this mess down here right now." My husband looked at me and smiled. "She's standing right here." Leonard's face went completely white as I calmly pulled out my business card and professional engineer license. Leonard literally started stammering apologies while I walked him through exactly how to fix the structural issues he'd been complaining about. Turned out his concerns were him misreading my blueprints. Within an hour, I had identified the real problems and provided solutions. Word got around the construction community quickly about what happened. Leonard lost 2 major contracts when clients heard about his behavior. Now he can barely make eye contact at industry events.